What up, everybody? This is Pac-Man 1987. I'm back again. Gonna do some more exploring here in Kerbal. Gotta put more flags down. And today we're doing Minmus. And because it's super easy to land on Minmus, I decided that I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a Skycrane to land on Minmus. I've done Skycranes before on the moon, but I've never done one on Minmus, so see how this goes. That's gonna be a bit of a process because I gotta make sure the thing can actually fly properly, so we're gonna have to build it. Let's see what we can do. I was doing a little math before I started here, and I think I want my lander and my return vehicle to have about 500 delta V. Check here real quick, make sure I'm not losing my mind. Think possibility. Yeah, about 500 I think to get back ought to be sufficient. Well, you know what? I'm gonna build in some fail-safe with that. I'm looking at the cheat sheet right now. It has all the delta V values, or average delta V values. They're not always perfect. Let's see what we can build. Alright, one command pod. Let's give it some stuff. There we go. And some parachutes. Full one, that's the full one. Give it a drogue chute too. I don't think I really need it, but I like to put them on there because it's kind of fun. Definitely make sure it slows down enough once it gets back, so that's not a bad thing. I don't think I need any monoprop. Like a pretty solid one-man lander. Or one-man return capsule, rather. More interesting things on it. Let's see how much fuel we actually need to achieve things. I mean, that's a lot of delta V right there. And that's for the moon. I mean, that ought to be able to take off and come back, unless I'm really screwy on the inclination. The thrust to weight ratio is insane. Like, it most certainly doesn't need that much, if at all. It can be higher than that though. Well, we'll leave it at full, but for takeoff we'll probably throttle it down because 19.5 thrust weight ratio is just a bit much. So I did a little math, and the absolute maximum this thing would need to take off come back about 904. That's with like a nice big margin for error. I don't think it really even needs that. I think it'll be fine. So this is more than sufficient to do what we want to do now. Oh, I just realized. I want to see the center of mass when I do this because I'm not 100% certain this isn't going to screw it all up. This is going to be landed via Skycrane. Kind of need to do something just a touch different. This will have to have a side parachute, which I'm Kind of concern is really going to throw the center of mass off bad, unfortunately. I can probably come up with something to balance that. How much does a parachute weigh? 0.1 ton. I'd probably put a... We put a board I'm looking for. Solar panel or something on the other side that weighs about a 0.1 ton. I'm sure there's something. So, battery maybe. That might do the trick. What do we got? What weighs stuff? 0.05, 0.25. That's not so bad. Can I get 0.1 ton? Can I hear 0.1 ton? Doesn't look like it. That parachute's super heavy. Nothing quite what I need. That's a little big. Just a bit. Although that would really do the trick. Kind of funny. Does this thing generate electricity? Does not. Ooh, I know. Where are you at? Not quite a ton, but it's close. Or 0.1 ton, but it's close. Should balance it out. See, the only thing I'm really concerned about there is that having that extra 0.1 ton on the side there will cause the vehicle to be unbalanced, which may or may not cause issues, but thought to solve my problems. That'll do. So let's give it some landing gear. Pretty standard looking lander, if I do say so myself. Let's make it interesting. Where are you at? That would do the trick, I believe. A couple of different ways to do this. Need a connector port. Winch. Good. So now what I want is a landing vehicle of some sort. This thing weighs, what does it weigh? 2.33 tons right now. It's not so bad. Probably doesn't need to be super big. Let's see what we get. Not quite. That's actually pretty significant. Honestly, I feel like this thing ought to be able to land. I mean, it can always abort. There's no reason not to send it, but 914 meters per second. I mean, so if we have a transfer vehicle to get it there, it would only cost... Really, it's supposed to only cost about 180 meters per second to land. Now, it's going to need a lot more than that because it's got to hover for an extended period of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I'd still say this thing is more than capable. In fact, we may not even need to make it that big. Let's adjust. What would this give us? That may be all I need. That's about 500. A 21 to 1 thrust away ratio. It's a little ridiculous. I like to do 3 to 1 thrust away ratios for the purposes of landing. It means your inbound burn is longer while you're landing, but it gives you a lot more fine control when you get to the point that you're hovering, because you know the throttle is marked off in thirds, so it's 1, 2, and then full. If you hover around that first tick on the throttle, it'll let you hover really effectively, and then just slight adjustments up and down. So it's kind of a convenient way to set that up. I mean, look at that burn time, 5 minutes, 6.5 seconds. I think that's more than enough to land it. We'll time how long it actually takes to lower the thing. Now we're going to need to put some more stuff on this, so this might need a little more fuel than that. We might need to go back to it. Being that, so let's see. Because the transfer vehicle is going to need some electrical generation equipment. I mean, that looks pretty solid. So right there, we've already lost a little too much delta V. Although we might be able to put it back with just some cans of some sort. Some donuts. But that'll need that. It's also going to need a control module, and you'll see why once I test how this works. Might as well just give it batteries for days. I think what is that, 1,000? Yeah, one big battery. I don't even think it needs to have its own probably doesn't even need to have its own power generation. Between this little guy and that ought to be sufficient. Lighter the better, obviously. That still ought to be able to handle this. Looks fairly stable. Although it might be worth it to do it with 4 engines. A little extra weight. But then you have stabilization in multiple axes. Isn't a bad thing. And that looks pretty good. What do these give me? A bigger vectoring range. Not much in the way of thrust, though. Still absurdly sufficient. Well, maybe not. Actually, yeah, those are pretty good. They don't get in the way as much, which is good. And a stack. Looking pretty solid. Yeah. digging this a lot. So there's a few things you gotta do when you do one of these now. The first thing you gotta do is you gotta set up some action groups. So you need action group 1 to lower the hook. And I think you have to hold it if I remember correctly. We'll set that to extend cable. And then I don't remember which one we need. We'll test it. We'll set 2 to eject hook. Okay, Jeb's ready to go. Let's put this up on a rig and see what it does. Where's my structure? There you are. We'll lift it up in the air a bit. Kind of want to start this fairly high up. So, that's all well and good. Pretty solid. Test it. So what we're testing here is the behavior of the hook system. That looks good. Oop, drop that on Jeb. Hey, he's fine. Look at him. He's fine. He's fine. Don't worry about it. Forgot that didn't really have enough thrust here in the atmosphere, so you know. Whoops. Totally fine. This is all good. We need to know that that works. I know what to do to test that. We're going to put a retraction command in it as well. So we want it to, you know, I feel like eject hook fires the hook, if I remember correctly. I'm going to make number 2 unplug. I'm going to make number 3 retract, so we can see whether or not it's actually doing what I want it to do. So let's see. Okay, let's try that again. Looks good. Lowers it. It's probably about the height I would actually start lowering to, because this thing will be slowly descending. I think it worked. Let's see if it retracts. It does. Cool. That's awesome. So that's the action right there. That you lower it. As soon as it touches the ground, you cut the cable. Now, the cool thing with that is, once you've cut that cable, the thrust to weight ratio of the main vehicle goes up quite a bit, so you don't even have to touch the throttle, and you're suddenly going to start lifting, which is what you want it to do. That's how a Skycrane landing works. You come in, you come to a hover, you stabilize, you lower the thing you're dropping, it touches the ground, you drop it, and the vehicle just flies off, and you fly it off a little bit and let it crash, because you don't need it anymore. So you don't have to put any landing gear or anything on this thing, because it's just going to fly away and explode. So, that's pretty solid. I think that'll work. I think it has more than enough fuel to do what I want it to do. Can't be sure. So we test it. Go ahead and recover that. So got a payload. It's not a very heavy payload by any stretch of the imagination. That's what, like 5 tons. So this thing is super lightweight for what it does. Now the other tricky bit, we may want to test this in orbit first, is will it be stable in orbit or will it flop around wildly? There's a couple ways to test that actually, or ways that we can tweak that. Let's try auto strut to the root part, grandparent part. Now, will it let us lower it? I don't honestly know. It's been a while since I did a Skycrane, so I'm not sure. Let's see. Probably put the legs back down. Ooh, I just had somebody let me know that the Vermintide 2 open beta starts tomorrow, so I'm going to be playing that probably tomorrow. I'm excited. Love that game. Very good game. Very exciting stuff. So, let's see. Ah! So there's our problem. I can't strut this because the strut does not... You can disable that in flight? Are you kidding? Wait a minute. You gotta be kidding me. That's news. Can you do that once you've launched it? What? That's amazing. I had no idea. That changes a lot of things about what I can do. We just learned stuff. Whoops. That was a slight issue. No, that really kind of changes some things. We're going to go ahead and recover this. And I think we're going to launch one, because I think it's probably ready to roll. What do we got? We have a vehicle. It had like 900, 800 something Delta V to come back. More than enough. And it had 479, which according to my math is 0.2 higher than what I'm shooting for. So I think it will be sufficient. We'll see. We're gonna need a transfer vehicle to get it there, and that transfer vehicle needs a decent pile of Delta V. So let's see what we can do about that. So we want this vehicle to be like this. The Kerbal's actually going to launch upside down. Maybe. Maybe not. You know what? It'd actually be more stable to launch it inline. And let this be the top. That would be better. So let's give it a coupling. Let's see what we can do with that. And I'm going to do a Clampatron because we really don't want this to have a lot of ejection force. even know how much we're really gonna need. Make it at least look stylish. Maybe one of these. Wow, that's some Delta V. Goodness gracious. What is the staging on this doing? I think it's crazy. Clearly I've got some issues with my staging. Let's give it an honest-to-God decoupler. Just so it's not so darn confused. Okay. That's a little more useful. Yeah, that's a pretty good vehicle. I think it might be sufficient. Maximum possible cost of a transfer to Minmus on the cheat sheet, so on paper, is 1,270 meters per second. Now, we should not really need that, hopefully. Because I'm going to do a trick. I'm going to launch when the Space Center is lined up with Minmus, and then try to launch into the same inclination. I'll probably use the targeting thing to do that. We'll see if we can get that as close as possible to minimize how much that's going to cost. We might want a little more fuel than this, though, for our transfer vehicle. I don't know yet. I feel like we do. At the very least, this is the absolute bare minimum of what I'd want to put on it. So I think it needs more fuel. We've got the thrust to wait for that, though. So I don't even think we'll need to add a lot. I think that'd be more than sufficient. Should get us there. That's a pretty good vehicle. Heaviest part. Like that. More than enough thrust weight. Well, actually, get that more. These bad boys ought to do the trick. That's a little better. Still more than enough fuel. But it needs some solar panels and whatnot too, so... do we want this thing to be able to deorbit itself once it's there? Probably. I like to clean up. And it'll probably... Well, it's got more than enough reaction wheels. So shouldn't need that. It actually may or may not be able to. I think we'll just leave it. It'll be a dump stage. That being said, we are going to give it some solar panels. Just some basic ones, something light. That looks good. Plus 1,600 meters per second at Delta V, which is, it should, on paper, be more than enough to get us there and do everything I want it to do. Some to spare. So this is looking like a vehicle. I'd say this is our payload. So what's our total mass? 6.6 tons to Minmus. And we just need to get this into orbit because this is our transfer vehicle. So it has all the fuel we need to go to Minmus and get everything we need there. So we just need some kind of launcher. So let's see what we can do about that. I don't even think this launcher is going to be that complicated. This thing is really, really simple. So we'll want a payload fairing. This might be more than enough. See if it'll go long enough. That looks pretty good. We'll have to do some on-orbit testing just to make sure everything's looking good. But seems like a solid vehicle. There's one thing I want it to have. Well, I think this thing needs some solar. Something, anything. Just a couple of these little guys. They're not very heavy. That should be more than sufficient. Alright, so launch vehicle time. What do we got? Not that. We don't have that. That is not what we have. Wonder how far an orange tank will get us. Got a decoupler. That's close, actually. This might be a single stage to orbit kind of vehicle. A little extra fuel. I mean, look at that. Ooh, I have an idea. I have a fun idea. This will look cool. It'll look really cool. Oh, come on. Don't do me like that. Yeah, this is gonna look cool. Okay. So we need a little more fuel. Not a whole lot, mind you. Just a bit. I feel like we could make, well, make this more stable. Multiple ways to make this more stable. I like the look of this because it looks like something that would be in a fairing for payloads. That looks neat. Looks like a rocket. We need more fuel though. But not much. This thing's pretty good. I also probably need another control surface thing. There we go. And more fuel. I'm not sure we need that. And we'll give it more. That should get it to orbit. Should. Big. No. You know what? We still have the delta or the thrust to weight. I'm gonna give it more. More, because for a very good reason. This has to launch into an inclined orbit. It might be more efficient, 2-stage. But it may not be as cool. So there's that. How much does that have? That's actually a pretty darn good vehicle, isn't it? It has some oomph. I feel like we can make this more stylish. That's the equivalent of 2 orange tanks. It'll fly better with just orange tanks, though. I want it to have about 4K. Yeah, you know what? Give it that, and we'll just see how it does. Aerodynamics. What we got? One of these is lighter. That one. I mean, this should be a space-worthy vehicle. Should being the opportune term. But I'm digging it. Okay. Minmus Express. Oh no, we're calling it the MERV. It's the Minmus Exploratory Rocket Vehicle. I like it. The launch tower. That looks good. That. This all looks solid. It doesn't mean it's gonna work, but let's see. So like I said, my plan is to launch when Minmus is lined up with the Space Center, more or less. Where is the Space Center? Isn't that the Space Center? I think that's the Space Center, if I remember correctly. Where's the island? Yeah, that's the Space Center right there. It's nighttime right now. So where's Minmus and all this madness? It's quite a ways away. Process some time. Okay, so it's morning. And that's not bad lineup, actually. We probably need to go a few more hours ahead. And we'll be looking solid. That looks pretty close. Yeah, I'd say we're on the money. Let's do a launch. So, a couple things we want to do with this launch. Do a quick save, because I still don't know that this thing's really going to get into a good orbit. Kind of hard to say. I also don't really know how well it's going to fly. Not really too worried about the vessel. What I am worried about is Minmus. Yeah, we're only 4 minutes away from relative ascending node. That's interesting. Let's see what we can do about that. So we have a marker now for the relative inclination. We don't need to change too much. Yeah, we do. That was loud. Don't need to change anything just yet. Okay. I think we need to kind of get some pitch going here, maybe. Pitch, a little pitch. A lot of pitch. Whoa, whoa, too much pitch. Way too much pitch. Come on, come on, come on. Cover. There we go. This is looking good. Not getting the kind of altitude I want though. Boost that. I think we're just gonna barely make it into orbit. Alright, that'll do. Bare minimum. Line up on target. How much delta V do we have left? More than enough. Yeah. About 40 seconds from the burn. As soon as we exit the atmosphere, we will deploy the fairings. much relative inclination as possible. Come on. Right back to prograde. We're in a wacky orbit, but I'll take it. That is not even remotely what I told it to do, but that's because I was doing all that wackiness with the inclination and not paying attention. But that's okay. We're not too far off on inclination, so that's good. Let's see what we can do with that. Go ahead and separate. Well, that was graceful. Super graceful. Okay. We have an orbit. Let's see what we can do with it. Minmus is the target. I don't know quite. Okay, so we're way ahead of it there. But we want to look at probably here. Maybe. Maybe not. A little closer. We're way overshooting. It's honestly been a really long time since I plotted a trip to Minmus, so... Oh my god. Let's do like right here. I'm having such a hard time figuring this one out. Alright, so it's heading that way. Could do a fix of the relative inclination. So we can just bake that into our burn. What happens if we add a maneuver here? Ah, that's why. Okay. How is that the closest approach? What is this garbage? Hey, hey, hey. Look at that. Almost like it's perfect or something. Maybe not. Does it seem to think the... Okay. I can see what it's doing now. That is a strange, strange bug. We're going to be catching it on the way back in. And I think... Goodness gracious. Let's try that again. Because I have this goofy orbit that I've gotten here. Problems. That's okay. Here's where we run into issues. There's a close approach. But as you can see, the inclination is quite off. It really seems to be struggling. I have not personally plotted a trip to Minmus in a long time. Good grief. I am scrubbing it up right now. This is terrible. Hello. How are you doing today? Alright. So. Minmus encounter. There's a close approach. How close is the approach? Far enough away that it's not really working out. We need to tweak that. Alright, before I try to do this transfer, I think we need to correct my inclination, because I think that's why I'm having such a hard time with this. So, where are we at? We want to go to the ascending node, and we want to plot... I want to get this inclination matched up. Let's warp to here. I don't know if it's a relative inclination north or south. I also don't know where the heck it thinks it's pointing me. Interesting. Give it a little poof from the engines. There we go. Okay. We're about 15 real-time minutes from the descending node. So we'll probably go to that. Do this adjustment. I'm hoping that isn't going to cost me too much of my fuel. I think it's going to make this a little bit easier. Nope, wrong way. Gotta flip. Alright, that's close enough. The inclination is a lot less ridiculous now. Let's see what we can do with it. There's a Minmus. These close approaches are bizarre. What's the close approach? Still horribly off. Try at the ascending node. That looks a little nicer. Okay. That's something. What can we do with it? Not that. That gets us not good. Let's see what it would, what madness would it take to actually get close to this darn thing. That's a bit much. Not digging it at all. Pretty much, yeah. I'm trying to plant flags everywhere. So I've been working on the moon for a while now because I ended up with a stranded crew. And ended up going to the poles of the planet and the moon. And now I'm just trying to land this thing on Minmus. But it's a Skycrane, so it's going to be kind of fun. If I could just stop derping. How much delta V does this thing actually have right now anyway? Where are you at? 1400. I mean, that gets me there. I don't know about how close. That's a pretty good approach. See what the maneuver would be. I'm gonna Hail Mary this. Ah, Skycrane. So what it is, if you're familiar at all with the Curiosity rover on Mars, it's a way to land something where you have a... It's really good for rovers, which is why they used it for Curiosity. You have a vehicle come in, slow down, and hover above the ground some distance, and it actually lowers what it's trying to land down to the ground on a cable, and then detaches and flies off. And that's how they landed the Curiosity rover on Mars, which was pretty freaking sweet, because that entire thing had to do all of that automatically. I've done some of these before on the moon, but I've never done one at Minmus, so I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. This should be sufficient. Let's see. Just barely sufficient. Yeah, it should be pretty cool, assuming it works. And assuming I can get it there, because I am just sucking tonight at plotting maneuvers. I mean, that gets me there. But that's like a ultra direct approach that I could really do without. I can see I'm off a bit. A decent bit. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna quick save this. I'm gonna see what else I can get. Because I feel like I should be able to aim like over here somewhere. Get a better approach. And oh my goodness, what is this crazy contraption doing? See, look at that. That's a lot better. And a lot less extreme. There we go. Aha! I guessed better. I guessed a whole heck of a lot better. But now it's like little minute adjustments. Look at that. That is a wacky approach. Can we fix that? Whew. We're dealing with very tiny... This is actually a... Is that a free return? That's a free return trajectory for Minmus. That's cool. So if I went on this trajectory that I'm plotting right now, it'd be super inclined, but I would actually, I would come back without having to do anything else for the most part. I'd have to do like a little tiny burn. I wish. Wish. Get a little less inclined. But it looks like that just makes it worse. See, that's looking better and better. That's a little less wacky. I could work with that. I could still make it a free return too by doing this. That looks pretty good. That looks better. We can go with that. Alright. That's a pretty good maneuver. And that's still a free return trajectory. It's close to a free return trajectory. Huh. Go figure. So, that doesn't really matter in Kerbal, but in reality, that's a good thing. Alright, so we are 5 minutes from the node. And 4 minutes, 29 seconds from actually starting the node. Well, I don't know about it. Let's see. Might not be a doable maneuver. No, it should be. Let's warp to the maneuver node. Alright, so we're about 2 minutes 58 seconds out from the node. Going to speed up to get there faster. Okay. Alright, we're about 30 seconds from actually doing this maneuver. I'm gonna let it go back to real time and line up. This is a pretty cheap maneuver too. We'll definitely have to do some kind of correction on the way there. Five, four, three, two, one. And away we go. That looks pretty good. Actually, this burn is about as expensive as a free return trajectory from the moon. On my batteries and everything like that. Perfect. A long burn. End of it though. And just fine tune it. Okay, let's see how I did. Not bad. Not bad at all. Say we are on the way to Minmus. I don't even think I really need to do a major correction. I can probably do it when I get there. I have the fuel. See what a capture is going to cost us. Ooh, that was a bit much. Not much at all. And it looks like we're going to pass over a pretty good landing spot too in our orbit. So I'd say we're set. Let's go ahead and do time warping. The moon looks really cool back there in the background. Let's go ahead and start warping to the sphere of influence. And there comes Minmus. Oh, that's Jewel. Never mind. Oh, there's Minmus. Hey. Very observant tonight. Super, super observant. So here we are. We have arrived at Minmus's sphere of influence. So it would seem. We're not actually in it yet, though. Looks like this is a pretty short burn. I may even want to tune down my engines a little bit so it's a little more accurate. Alright, we are officially in its sphere of influence, so let's line up on the target, see what we can do. Yeah, I think I'm gonna half the power on my engines. It's saying it's only gonna be a 13-second long burn. Maybe I'll make it about 2/3 normal power. That's 20 seconds. That's a little more. I like to turn down my burn, or rather my thrust on my engine sometimes, to get a little fine tuning on the burns that I do, so they're not super explosive. It's less efficient, but I like the control. So let's quick save and get to the burn. I think I'm warping to the maneuver node. Sure not. Good job, warping. It warped us past it. Super good. High quality stuff. So we'll do that manually. Looking good. Woo! Look at me, I'm going past it now. Goodness gracious. Try that one more time. This is why we don't fly tired. Going a little bit better. Alright, we're about a minute out, minute and a half out. Alright, going to real time. Go ahead and let it line up. Get ready to do this. About 18 seconds. New capture. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It'd help if I was on the node. Alright, so we overshot that ever so slightly, but we're in orbit. And that's all that really matters. I want to bump that periaps up ever so slightly. Good enough. Oh, you should. You totally should. Rescue crew. I might need that. Now, Kerbal's fun. It's a great game, and you can do a lot with it. You can just slap crazy stuff together, hit the spacebar, and see what happens, or you can get really into it. Kind of lets you do whatever it is you most want to do. So here, I'm trying to get. That's right on the money. Trying to get a nice circular orbit once I get down there. Now that's a really tiny burn. So we're going to go ahead and thrust limit this quite a bit. You know, setting up a space station is pretty hard. Have you, oh yeah, no, it's very difficult. I can actually play with that in a little while if you want. Show you some nifty tips and tricks. Usually it's a good idea to practice a bunch with some little stuff. Like you can build just a couple of little like, kind of like the Mercury program. They made the Agena targeting vehicles for Mercury, or that was Gemini, and you'd go up and they would dock with it. It was just like a thing in orbit they docked with. It's a good way to practice because the space stations are hard because they're so heavy. Alright, so that looks good. We're about 31 minutes from this final circularization burn, so we're just going to go ahead and warp around the planet real quick. You keep at it long enough, you'll get it. It just takes a while. Let's see. I've got probably... my Steam account says I have 480-ish hours logged in Kerbal. But I've probably got closer to 800 or 900 because I use multiple saves sometimes in the past. So... takes a while. Oh, SpaceX is awesome. I love SpaceX. My goodness, that Falcon 9 Heavy launch was fantastic. No, they're definitely they're dragging us kicking and screaming into the future. I'm about 40 seconds out from my little burn here. Speed up a little bit. There we go. No, I think they're going places. I think well, they said they're going to start testing on the BFR later this year, early next year. I think that's going to be pretty successful too. They seem to once they decide they're going to do something, they seem to succeed pretty reliably at it. Heck, I feel like a noob sometimes. I think you popped up a few minutes into me trying to get that darn maneuver node to be right. I don't know what I was having such a hard time with that for. How am I doing? There we go. Nice 10-kilometer orbit. And this just so happens to be where I intend to land this thing. So here's the part where this gets interesting. Because I'm not sure this is really going to work. So we'll have to see how that goes. So we want to land here. Let's see how we're looking surface-wise. Oh man, that heavy launch was so exciting. That was good stuff. And those landings, oh, the twin landings. It was a bummer about the center core though. But what can you do? I think the boosters landing back on the land was the more exciting bit though. And I don't even think they were going to refly that core, so it really wasn't like, oh darn, we lost that. They weren't going to use it again anyway. That double landing was awesome. Alright, so I'm in a 10-kilometer orbit. I don't think I need to be in a 10-kilometer orbit to land, but I don't know for sure. So we might try this landing more than one time. We'll see. Let's see if we can get anything useful out of the trajectories mod. Oh man, that's gonna be good stuff. Our orbital speed right now. 158, so I gotta burn off at least 158 meters per second. Just on the way down. Can't be certain, but I think if I start my deorbit somewhere like here-ish, I should be able to land there. We'll kind of have to scooch over this mountain. Not 100%. It's been a while since I landed on Minmus. When is that supposed to take place, that next one? I forget when they said. I may want to, well, we'll see. We'll see if I'm going to use trajectories or not. So, here's where this gets interesting. Because it's been a while since I did a Skycrane, and it's been a while since I did Minmus. We need to separate this thing. I'm going to separate it on a normal axis so that they don't come near each other anymore. Okay. So this is the vehicle that actually lands. And the engines that are landing it are actually up here. They're on. They're armed. They're ready to go. We could probably have done a small orbital correction on the other side of the planet. I might drop this ever so slightly. Maybe about 8 kilometers. That's a little tiny burn. Good grief, that's a tiny burn. What are these set to? 59.5? We'll just leave those. Oh man, June? That early, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's what they say. They hit their deadlines. I mean, I can't say that they've always hit their deadlines, but lately they've been doing a pretty good job of it. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do manage to do that. I'm going to do a slight adjustment. Dip my orbit just a little lower on the side that I'm actually going to land on. Okay. That looks good. You know, I've been thinking about checking out the SpaceX mods because I know there's some cool stuff. And it is really hard to do one of those kind of landings otherwise. So, looking at this, and again, I might have to try this a couple times to end up where I'm trying to go. See. It, may or may not take a few tries. I think if I go to the periapse and start my burn, that I should be able to land where I want to go. Maybe. Actually, see. Maybe not. Might want to wait until I'm over this mountain. Oh man, first moon landing. That's always fun. Yeah, the moon is tricky. It's definitely a step up from low orbit, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until I'm actually over. How much distance do I cover in a minute anyway? Well, I'm traveling at 159 meters a second. About 9 kilometers. Probably a little less since this is a sphere. Let's go to about here. It's gonna be delicate. Okay. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up. See how we do. Oh, we need to do one other thing. Turn off the auto strut. Thank you. Looking pretty good. This is actually going to be a really ultra inefficient descent, I think. Like, I may slow down a bit. Wait till I'm lower. So, here's my surface. Don't really need orbital. Alright, I'm gonna cut it out for a little bit. I'm glad you're enjoying it. This should be really cool if it works. If it works. Bear that in mind. It looks awesome when it does. Hopefully it'll work. Alright, so let's see. What do we got? My suicide burn altitude is about 2.2 kilometers above the ground. And we're about 6.7 up at the moment. So we're going to coast a bit until we're at about maybe 4 kilometers and then do some adjusting. And then we'll coast a bit more. So I'll say we're in high approach at the moment. But I think my trajectory inbound is looking pretty solid. I'm gonna start for safety reasons. Yeah. Well, you know, that's the trick, really, is you don't want to crash. Yeah, we're going to speed up. But we're only going to give it about 2/3. And my vertical speed's looking pretty good. We're 1 minute and 16 seconds from impact. Isn't too bad. Go ahead and zero this out. There we go. Switch to surface mode. Alright, so we can go ahead and cut it out for now. We'll just coast a bit more. So the goal here is to zero out as much of my horizontal velocity as possible before I start lowering the vehicle. Alright. Let's start doing this. Hey, thanks for watching. You know, I'll have it uploaded, so if you want to check out how this goes later on, go ahead and do so. You have a good one. Okay, so we're looking really good now. We can kind of just start descending normally again. Our horizontal velocity is in millimeters, which is just a-okay. And we have I mean, we have so much fuel. I've been super inefficient with this, which is fine. I'm gonna start. I want to control it to about 10 meters per second descent. Our time to impact. Alright, so here's where I like to set my thrust to weight ratio at 3:1, because I can use this marker here as a good judge of where I'm at. Now we're just going to kind of mind the descent speed a bit. Okay. So we need to slow down. You want to come to a nice gentle hover, maybe about 10 meters above the ground. Alright, we've got a shadow. This is good. This is about where we want to stay. It's hard to judge distances here. But I'm still pretty high up. Alright, we got a high-res shadow. At about 30 meters, I'm going to start lowering. Maybe 40. Okay, let's let it down. Looking good. Looking really, really good. Contact. Now the problem with this, which I just learned, is that it no longer has any control over where it's going. So we're just going to let it do a nice big fat burn as high as it wants to go, so it ends up really far away. I'm not even sure how much more delta V this thing has. I didn't really think that part through. Let's see if it gets a signal. Probably too far out. Alright, that's good enough for me. So the lander is no longer, or the descent vehicle is no longer going to return. It's just going to fly off into orbit, and that's fine with me. That went really well. Alright. That went really, really good. Oh man, I love doing this. It's been a while since I did one of this. And here we are. We're on the surface. Awesome. Alright, so let's see what we can do on the surface of Minmus. I mean, the obvious answer to that is plant a flag, since that is why we are here. Not much else to do on Minmus. There's not a whole lot here. Thank you. That was intense. It's been a while since I did that. We'll move a little bit away from the vehicle before we plant our flag. Alright. Now we gotta see if it actually gets back. Let's see. All right. That's quite the bit of height. And this is a fun thing. Here's a fun little visual phenomena that Kerbal actually does a good job of getting across. So that hill over there, you know, from here, it just looks like a little hill, and it's not really that far away, right? Like, man, it looks like I could just walk over to that. It's right there. And then you zoom out, and it's like a gargantuan mountain way over there. Like, look how far away from that I am. That's actually a thing they ran into on the moon, too, because the horizon is so close that large objects really far away look like small objects nearby. And the first time they ever landed on the moon, they actually, like, they noted that. They were like, oh, man. There were a couple things where they were like, hey, I'm going to go over and check out this sweet rock. And it was like a gigantic boulder. Okay. Go ahead and get back in there. Oh, come on. And the all-important question, can I get back in? Yes. The answer is yes. So, we gotta get this guy home. And how do I want to do that? I am on the opposite side of the planet, or of the moon from the planet, so that's good. And I want to say, where's my landmark? Okay, so there's a landmark, there's a landmark. So that, I think that's the direction I want to go, actually, because that's that big mountain that I flew over coming in. And I think I want to go, yeah, I want to go that way. We're going that way. If not, we can just redo it. So let's go ahead and ignite the engines. And we'll see which direction we need to tilt this thing to... Oop, not that way. There we go. We can pretty much just start accelerating into orbital velocity, like right out of the get-go. See, how are we looking? It takes so little thrust to get into orbit. looking solid. I'm gonna set my apoaps at about probably that ought to be more than sufficient actually. We need to go a little higher. Okay. Yeah, it's close enough. Not very big burn. Like the burn will be a whopping 14 seconds long. And we're about a minute away from it, so. Okay. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire it up. That's good enough. Alright, we're in an orbit. So, plot going back. Why exactly am I having a hard time placing a node? Go back to the tracking station real quick. This is behaving weird. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't letting me do a maneuver now. That's weird. We may actually want to... How much delta V is this? Ah, we've still got plenty. We can be as inefficient as we want. Come on. That's good enough for me for right now. 397 out of 594 is pretty solid. I think I have a sneaky suspicion this is going to be like a bizarro, massively changed orbit inclination or orbit orientation. I think we're going to be going the opposite way. I should have launched. Let me do something. Nope, never mind. I was going to load a quick save. Not anymore. Alright, let's go to the node. How long is the node? 1 minute and 18 seconds. You know what? Could have probably just done the maneuver right there, couldn't I? Let me try that real quick. See if we can make it cheaper. Yeah, look at that. Way easier. Alright. And think about that. Minmus is so little you can do silly things while you're in orbit around it. You can do really, really silly things. Alright. Like, we're gonna put a maneuver right here. Why not? I mean, look at that. Actually a little cheaper. Okay. Now we're only about 6 minutes from this maneuver node. A little bit faster. Okay. Getting ready. Jeb's looking excited. Three, two, one. And we're looking good there. We're moving really fast relative to the ground, goodness gracious. Alright. So, we're on our way back to the planet. Our periaps is actually looking pretty good. A little bit higher orbital energy, but I'll probably lower that orbit just a hair. Go ahead and warp to the sphere of influence change. Very cool. I guess we could, oh, we can't undeploy that landing gear because we're time warping still. Goodness gracious, it's a ways out. Minmus has a huge sphere of influence for how big it is. Oh, it was still trying to time warp us there. Okay, so we're back in Kerbal Sphere of Influence. It's about a 37-kilometer periaps. Normally, on the way back from the moon, I set my periapses at about 30-ish. I think because this is going to have slightly higher orbital energy, that 37 is probably more than sufficient. But just in case it isn't, we're gonna quick save out here. Let's go ahead and time warp into the planet. We are quite the ways out. Looks really cool though. Oh, that was neat. It was like that picture from a couple months ago, the moon passing in front of the Earth from way out beyond it. So, let's go ahead and do a slight adjustment. Make it 35. I think that'll be sufficient. We won't be super aggressive. It looks like we're coming down on the night side of the planet, so that'll be kind of silly, but what can you do? Now we pretty much just warp in until we hit the atmosphere. Alright, we have atmospheric interface, and we're going to go ahead and separate. See how we do. Oh yeah, we're gonna re-enter just fine. Looking good. As long as we don't come down in any mountains, I think we'll be fine. I wonder if I can crank up the ambient light so we can actually see. Nope. Sure doesn't help. Actually still in an orbit for a few more moments. Not so much now. That looks really cool. Now we're pretty much just waiting to slow down. Looks good. And like we're through the heating phase. I could actually see. That'd be cool. Our nighttime reentries. Hopefully I got enough parachutes. There we go. Parachute out. I just wait until we there we go. Whoop, whoop. We actually reach the ground, wherever that might be or what it might be. I'm not sure if we're coming down on land or water. There is no way to know. Really rather silly. Alright. Well, he's definitely safe. Question is, where are we? I have no way of knowing. This little light, that's all we got. Time warp a little bit. Tricky bit is I don't want to hit a mountain in time warp, so. Have anything else where I can get? Where are you? No, that's just the skybox. Thing there. Yeah. Let's see what's our time to impact. Coming down on a 6.5 degree slope in water. I don't know how that happens. What the engineer is telling me. In 13.2 seconds, which I believe is a lie because these seconds are lasting a really long time. Go ahead and speed that up a little bit. Definitely a water landing. Flying on instruments only. Alright, we're 100 meters up. We'll just coast the rest. Zoom out because I have a feeling this will be kind of loud. And splash down momentarily. About 1 second. There we are. He's back. And he's safe. So, that went pretty well. I'd say that's a successful mission. Not bad. What ended up happening to our little landing stage, though, I wonder? There's that. Where did you end up? The thing was booking it. What? This thing's already that far out? Good grief. Yeah, well, this thing, it's in solar orbit. Not bad. Very cool. Yeah, that'll join a couple other random probes I've got in solar orbits. Well then, I'd say we have conquered the Kerbal planetary system. I've been to a pole of Kerbal. I've been to the pole and just a random spot on the moon, and I've been to Minmus. So from there, I guess I'm going to have to start thinking about which planet I want to go to first. Probably Moho. I'll have to look at the transfer window planner and see what my earliest useful transfer is, and then I'll start planning from there. But maybe next time I could do some stuff with like docking maneuvers and whatnot, play around, because I know there were a couple people during this stream were talking to me about it, and I've done quite a bit of that, and I've kind of gotten it down to a science now to rendezvous with stuff and then dock with it. So I can play around with that. There's even a couple of things I've always wanted to do video-wise about kind of some math you can do that isn't really too hard that can help you out with stuff in Kerbal. So maybe I'll think about doing that first, because the big thing when you're going to the other planets is the optimal transfer windows are pretty far out from the start point. I'm on day 34, so I may actually be closer than I think to one. So I'll have to look at the planner and see. But we'll see where we go from here. It's going to be fun. It'll be a little bit harder to recover Kerbals if I goof things up. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream there. And if you're still watching, you know, thank you. I appreciate it. And keep an eye out. Probably tomorrow I might stream a bit. I know Vermintide 2 starts open beta tomorrow, so there'll be more people to play with, so that'll be fun. Gotta play some of that. I might even play some Stellaris maybe this weekend, so we'll see, because I want to get back into that. So hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.